Hey guys, I wanted to give you an exercise to do. People constantly ask me what my rating is for a game, or would I recommend someone buy it, but really that's a question you should be answering for yourself, based on what different preferences you have towards games. So I wanted to create this exercise, and I want to show you how I would recommend you determine the value of a game. I know everybody has a different system, but I would recommend you try out this system. So in the comment section below, try to use up one comment on a game that you think is really cool, really bad, or somehow interesting. Use this system to determine the game. The rating of a game for you. So of course nobody can really be wrong. And you can do it a couple times or a few times if you want. Just try to limit it to one comment just for contiguosity, if that's a word. So the point system here is basically an up to. Like the interface, you can score up to 9 points and stuff like that. And for the rest of this video, I'm just going to kind of give you examples of some of these because it's not exactly clear from... It's kind of complicated in a way. So let me just kind of go through the list. I'm trying to go through it pretty quickly because there's a long one, a lot of them here. For example, Dead Space did not let you change your keys, your movement keys from WASD. A lot of games also show controller configurations when you're on a computer, which is really annoying. So that's the first one. Required information displayed on the status for me. For example, black and white. They really tried hard to make it so that there is no interface, but in a way it would be nice not to have to go to locations or look things up to find... you shouldn't have to go very far to find the information you're going to need a lot. Next is how fluidly can I control my character with Dead Space yet again. The guy moves around quite clunky, but in a lot of Half-Life mods and Unreal Tournament and stuff like that, it's easy to fluidly move around the level and quickly get and start doing what it is you want to do. How long does it take to intuitively know what to press? Games like Mirror's Edge do it beautifully. It only took me like 10 minutes to realize I was playing. I felt like I was playing a game instead of controlling a mouse and keyboard. Is it quick and easy to operate the menu and inventories? Take, for example, Assassin's Creed. I think it takes like 17 clicks to get out of a game, and that's ridiculous. Alright, moving on to gameplay. Are there multiple ways to meet my goals? Now, let me mention first that all of these characteristics work for any genre. You just kind of have to apply them a little differently. I made sure that they're kind of generic in that. Multiple ways to meet my goals for a racing game would be taking a shortcut. For a first-person shooter would be using a different weapon. For a strategy game would be coming from a different direction or using a different unit. Puzzle games would, of course, usually a lot of games, puzzle games have multiple ways of winning the game. Okay. Does the targeting system feel good and appropriate? For a racing game, it was like, I'm facing that way, I want to go that way. First-person shooter is the crosshair. Puzzle game is, am I getting and doing what I want it to be doing? The next one is, does this game keep me thinking and keep me guessing? Basically, if you... for example, let's say Braid. There's all these times where you have to use the abilities that you're given to come up with some new thing that unfolds your mind to try to solve the situation at hand. And when you don't have that element, it starts becoming really repetitive. The next one is, does this game offer me a brand new experience? For example, Shadows of Chernobyl, Stalker Shadows of Chernobyl was one of the first really good first-person shooter role-playing games, and that became so addictive because it was truly absolutely innovative. So let's move on to lack of game killers. Okay, once again, we're talking about Stalker and Stalker Clear Sky and stuff like that. There are so many bugs that makes the game almost unplayable. There are times where a quest will just get bugged out and you won't be able to get out of it or go through it. It's just really, really bad. Now, there's also games where there's so much stuff going on and a lot of it is out of your control, and you fail not because you didn't do a great job, just because the stuff you weren't in control of, it was just not a lucky situation, and that's when it really gets that's bad. I don't like that at all. Then the next one is permanently missable items. Final Fantasy VII has, actually the whole Final Fantasy genre, or whatever, the whole set of Final Fantasies, has this really bad. It's so easy to miss things, and a lot of them you can never go back and get, and that really bothers me. That's one of my only complaints about Final Fantasy VII. And then finally, tacky elements from other games and genres. That's like when you're playing a first-person shooter game, and then you get in some sort of turret, and you're playing Space Invaders, and you're it's just like, oh, don't add stuff you didn't do a good job of making. Stick with what I mean. A game can have multiple genres in it, but do all of them good or leave it out. Okay. Sound quality. Are there sound effects or music when there should be? Like sometimes if you click and you fire a few times and you don't hear the gun bang, it's going to be really bothersome. Does the music pull me in? Take for example Mirror's Edge. Beautiful music, just like ah. And then do the sound effects give me stuff like location detection or reverberation? It's pretty easy, even with poor graphics, to give the sense of reverberation. And location detection is like you effectively use stereo sound so you can tell where things are. Don't overuse it where it's really annoying where you only hear it in one ear, of course, but you know what I mean. And then we go on to pacing. Do I feel like I've made progress even if I've only played for a little while? This was the major issue with a lot of MMOs. World of Warcraft was one of the first MMOs that was made where they really made it so that if you only played for like 30 minutes, you still know you made progress. And then there's also lots of other games. You gotta have the sense of making progress. Take Mage Knight Apocalypse, for example. Every single time you pick up an item or you gain a level, that's not really how it worked, but every single time you did that, all the monsters you dealt with also gained that much power. Which meant that you never felt like you were getting better. It felt like you were doing just as good as you ever were doing. And that sucked. That really sucked. But anyway, moving on. Now, intros, cinematics, and loading screens. So obviously, those are really bothersome if they get too much in the way. Cinematics are fine, but try to keep it concise. I don't want this 30-minute cinematic in the middle of my game. And then finally, is it rare when I find myself stuck or confused? This is the major problem of puzzle games. Puzzle games get to a point where you're like, okay, I have no idea. I have to look through a walkthrough. And once you've gotten to that point, it loses the quality of the game. Okay. Now, RPG elements. I believe any game can get improved by RPG elements, and I'm keeping this kind of generic because it can apply to any genre. So, do I have the option of repeating something to become better prepared? This might have to do with killing, if it was an FPS game, killing the same creatures over and over again and getting more gear or more ammo or whatever. With a puzzle game, I mean, there's RPG elements and a lot of stuff. Like, you can also get a kind of a currency and buy stuff from a store, etc., etc. And then finally, can I customize how my player character, the situation behaves or is equipped? Basically, can I make my experience of the game different? Like, can I focus on one aspect and maybe make that aspect better? For a racing game, for example, you can make sure that your traction is really high and not worry about your performance, so that you can go around corners really quickly and you're not so worried about going down the straightaways, or whatever. Just let you customize how the situation is. Next is difficulty. You need to fail occasionally. That's what the game is. You can't just play a game that you just are handed success. It's not fun. So you need to fail occasionally. And then almost more importantly, is am I appropriately punished? If they say, okay, well, you lose that game and you have to start over from the beginning, no save games, that's too extreme. Or if they knock you back 30 minutes for making a mistake that you're probably going to make every 5 minutes, that's too big of a thing. Or if they punish you by just sending you back to the waypoint just a little while ago, that might be too lenient. It might feel like you want to add death to your strategy. You should never want to add death to your strategy. For example, Borderlands. If you die, you just go right back to the quest wherever you were at and keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. You lose a little bit of money, but who cares? You just keep on trying and just force your way through and to a victory, and that's really annoying. I don't like that at all. Next, we have replayability. This one's obvious. Is there enough variety in the game to merit another playthrough? And then finally, graphics. All that really matters is, am I able to determine what I'm looking at? Really beautiful graphics is always nice, but that's not the game. That's the art. That really, really, really great graphics doesn't make a game a better game. It makes an artist's piece more artistic. I hope you guys can understand that. It's also sort of in the same category as storyline. Storyline is wonderful, but it's not game. So hopefully you guys find some fun in this, and hopefully this guy gives you some more ability to critique games. So I'll talk to you another time, and I hope you enjoyed this.